The phone buzzed like a wasp trapped against glass, its vibration cutting through the pristine silence of St. Margaret's Cathedral. My heart stopped as I watched Ryan, my daughter's groom, my employee, though he didn't know it, freeze mid-vow, his hand instinctively reaching for his pocket. "Sorry," he whispered, his face flushing red as 200 guests shifted uncomfortably in their pews. But I saw it. God help me, I saw the preview notification before he silenced it. Urgent. CEO wants to see you Monday about the promotion. Tom Bradley. Not today. Please, God, not today. My hands trembled as I gripped the program tighter, the embossed letters blurring. Sarah Miller and Ryan Cooper. October 15th, 2023. Cooper, the name of the company I'd bought 15 years ago, now worth $2.7 billion. The name of the man marrying my daughter who had no idea his mother-in-law signed his paychecks. 3 hours earlier, I'd stood in my modest suburban home in Arlington Heights, Dallas, staring at 2 dresses laid out on my bed. The Valentino hung in my secret penthouse downtown, but here, in the house Sarah knew as home, I held up a $200 navy dress from Macy's and a $150 one from Nordstrom Rack. The burner phone had rung then, the one I kept hidden behind the outdated cookbooks Sarah used to read as a child. "Grace?" John Davis's voice was electric with excitement. "The Beijing deal just closed. The final numbers are in. You're officially worth $2.7 billion. Congratulations, you're now the 847th richest person in America." I deleted the message with the same finger that wore a $50 wedding band from Walmart, the one I'd bought to replace the Cartier ring locked in my office safe. "Thanks, John. We'll talk Monday." "Don't you want to celebrate? This is huge!" "My daughter's getting married today. That's my only celebration."
You know what? As I share this story with you, I can't help but wonder, every parent watching this probably understands Grace's dilemma. If you think a mother's love sometimes means protecting our children from truths they're not ready for, type 1 in the comments. And if this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. Now, as I watched my Sarah, my baby girl who still thought her mother worked 60-hour weeks at a nail salon, exchange rings with Ryan, the weight of my deception pressed against my ribs like a physical thing. "With this ring," Ryan's voice was strong, sincere, "I promise to build our future with my bare hands, brick by brick. I may not come for money, but I promise you'll never want for love." Sarah's eyes glistened with tears. Mine did too, but for different reasons. "Oh, Ryan, you've been building our future for 3 years. You just don't know it." The Austin branch. He'd been so excited when he told Sarah about the transfer approval last week. They'd celebrated with champagne, the $12 bottle of Barefoot Bubbly, not the Dom Perignon I had cases of in my penthouse. They dreamed about a starter home, maybe 1,400 square feet, with a little yard for the dog they planned to adopt. I knew about the 5 mansions that had mysteriously fallen through when they'd tried to buy them. My real estate team had made sure of that. Too many questions would arise if a $180,000 a year project manager suddenly qualified for a $2 million home. "Mom? You okay?" Kate, my sister, squeezed my hand. She was the only one who knew, had known since that day 15 years ago when our father's will was read. 2 daughters, but only one inherited the empire. Kate got $10 million. I got everything else. "The Austin branch," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the organ music. "I'm closing it next month. 200 jobs. Kate's grip tightened. "Grace, no. I had no idea he worked there. The decision was made 6 months ago. The numbers don't lie. It's hemorrhaging money. So save it. And blow my cover? Tom Bradley doesn't have the authority to override a board decision that big."
The ceremony continued, but my mind raced. Every "I do" felt like another brick in the wall I'd built between my daughter and the truth. When Father Patrick announced, "You may kiss the bride," the chapel erupted in applause. I smiled and clapped, playing the part of the proud mother who'd scrimped and saved for this day. Inside, I was calculating.
$40 million to save the Austin branch. 200 families who wouldn't have to relocate. One son-in-law who wouldn't have to know his promotion came from his mother-in-law's guilt. During the photo session, Ryan mentioned his boss again, gesturing excitedly as he talked to his groomsmen. "Can you believe Mr. Bradley might make me VP? Sarah and I could actually afford that house on Maple Street." The house on Maple Street. I knew it well. The charming 1920s colonial, $400,000, needed a new roof. I had had my team inspected secretly. The foundation had issues. I had been planning to have a shell company buy it and fix it before they made an offer. "Mrs. Miller," the photographer called, "we need the mother of the bride." I took my place, frozen smile in position. Through the lens, I saw my double life in sharp focus. The nail technician who drove a 2015 Honda Accord, standing next to the daughter who had no idea her college fund had been pocket change, whose wedding was being paid for in cash by vendors who had been told to keep quiet. "Beautiful family," the photographer said. "Money can't buy this kind of happiness." If only he knew. As we walked to the reception hall, my phone, my real phone, buzzed with a text from Tom Bradley. "We have a problem. Mike Harrison is here. He's drunk and talking about Ryan's promotion. What do I do?" Mike Harrison, Senior VP of Operations, the one person besides the board who might recognize me, even though I'd only met him once 5 years ago in shadows and strategic lighting. I typed back quickly, "Handle it. Keep him away from me." But as we entered the reception hall, I saw it was too late. Mike Harrison stood by the bar, his face flushed with alcohol and excitement, cornering Tom Bradley near the champagne fountain. And Ryan was walking straight toward them.
The champagne fountain sparkled like liquid diamonds under the chandelier, but all I could see was disaster cascading down in slow motion. Mike Harrison, 6'3", bourbon-breathed and dangerously loose-lipped, had Tom Bradley backed against the dessert table, gesturing wildly with his half-empty glass. "Bradley!" Mike's voice boomed across the reception hall. "There's the man of the hour, not the groom, the puppet master himself." My blood turned to ice water. Puppet master. Even drunk, Mike was too close to the truth. Ryan approached them, his face glowing with newlywed joy and professional eagerness. My baby girl's husband, still adjusting his boutonniere, still believing in the American dream, still thinking his $1,800 salary was the summit of his achievements. "Mr. Bradley, Mr. Harrison," Ryan extended his hand. "I can't believe you both came. Sarah, honey, come meet my bosses." No. No, no, no. I watched Sarah glide over in her wedding dress, the one she'd bought on sale, altered 3 times to save money, the one I'd secretly wanted to replace with a Vera Wang but couldn't without raising questions. My throat constricted as she smiled at the men who controlled her husband's future, the men who worked for me. "Mrs. Miller," someone said beside me, "the mother-daughter dance is in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes before I had to dance with my daughter, look into her eyes, and continue this charade while her whole world teetered on the edge of revelation. "Mom," Sarah called out, waving me over, "come meet Ryan's boss." Each step toward them felt like walking through quicksand. Tom Bradley's face had gone pale, his usual CEO swagger evaporating as he caught my eye. We'd rehearsed the scenario 100 times, but never with Mike Harrison as a wild card. "This must be the famous Grace Miller," Tom said, his voice steady but his eyes screaming for help. "Sarah talks about you all the time. The hardest working women in Dallas, she says. Just a simple nail technician. Nothing as impressive as running $1 billion company." Mike snorted. "Billion? Tried 2.7 billion as of this morning. That Beijing deal?" He paused, scooping at me. "You know, you look familiar. Have we met?" My heart hammered against my ribs so hard, I was sure everyone could hear it. 5 years ago, the board meeting. I'd worn glasses, my hair was darker, and I'd stayed in the shadows, but Mike had been there when I'd made the decision to expand into Asia. I don't think so, I forced a laugh. I don't run in such elevated circles. Unless you need a French manicure.
But Mike wasn't listening. He'd turned back to Ryan, slapping him on the shoulder hard enough to make him stumble. "This kid here, you know what we're going to do with him, Tom? Tell him about the promotion." Tom's Adam's apple bobbed. "Mike, perhaps this isn't the time." "Nonsense. Kid deserves to know." Mike raised his glass, sloshing champagne. "Ryan Cooper, you beautiful bastard, you're going to be our youngest VP. 35% raise, stock options, the whole shebang." Sarah gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Ryan stood frozen, his face a kaleidoscope of emotions. Shock, joy, disbelief. Around us, wedding guests began to applaud, drawn by Mike's booming announcement. But Ryan's voice cracked. "The Austin branch transfer?" "Austin?" Mike laughed, the sound like breaking glass in my ears. "Who told you Austin? You're staying right here in Dallas. Corner office, reporting directly to me," Tom interrupted quickly. "Reporting to me. The Austin situation has changed." The Austin situation. 200 jobs I was about to cut. A branch I was closing to streamline operations. A decision I'd made 6 months ago when Ryan Cooper was just another name on a spreadsheet. "This is incredible." Sarah threw her arms around Ryan, then turned to hug Tom. "Mr. Bradley, thank you. Thank you so much." When she moved to hug me, I caught her shoulders, holding her at arm's length for just a moment. My daughter. My brilliant, independent, stubborn daughter who'd refused my nail salon bonuses to pay for college, who'd worked 2 jobs to buy her wedding dress, who had no idea she'd been living a life of carefully orchestrated normalcy. "Mom, are you crying?" I know. Your little girl is all grown up." If only that were the reason. "Grace," Kate appeared at my elbow, her smile tight. "They need you in the kitchen. Small issue with the cake." Thank God for sisters. I excused myself, but not before catching Tom's eye. The look I gave him could have frozen hell itself. Fix this, now. In the kitchen, away from the crowd, I collapsed against the industrial refrigerator, the cold steel shocking against my burning skin. "I can't do this, Kate. I can't keep lying to her." "Then don't," Kate said simply. "Tell her the truth." "The truth?" I laughed, the sound hollow and bitter. "Which truth? That I've been lying for 15 years? That her college roommate wasn't randomly assigned but carefully vetted? That every job interview she thought she nailed was preceded by a phone call from me? That her husband works for me? You didn't manipulate her life, Grace. You just cushioned it." "Cushioned?" I pulled out my phone, showing her the latest message from John Davis. "Look at this. Preparing for Forbes article. Need recent photo. They want to out me as one of America's secret billionaires. How's that for cushioning?" Kate read the message, her face grave. "When?" 6 months, maybe less. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to stop the tears that would ruin my carefully applied makeup. The same makeup I'd done myself because Sarah insisted we didn't need professional artists. "She's going to find out, Kate. And when she does, she'll understand. Eventually. Will she? Will she understand that every struggle she's proud of overcoming was choreographed? That every victory she earned had training wheels I secretly attached?" A knock on the kitchen door interrupted us. "Mrs. Miller?" It was one of the servers. "They're ready for your speech." My speech. The mother of the bride speech I'd written and rewritten a dozen times, trying to find words that weren't lies but weren't quite truth either. I stood, smoothing my dress, rebuilding my facade piece by piece. How do I look? Like a proud mother. Because that's what you are, Grace. Everything else is just details. But as we walked back to the reception, I saw Ryan showing his groomsmen something on his phone, the VP offer letter that had somehow already been drafted and sent. His face was pure joy, uncomplicated and genuine. And across the room, Mike Harrison was now talking animatedly to a group of Cooper Tech Industries employees I recognized, people who knew my face, my voice, my real identity. The walls were closing in, and my daughter was about to dance in the ruins.
The kitchen door slammed behind me with the finality of a coffin lid. I couldn't go back out there, not yet. Not when my carefully constructed world was crumbling like wet sand through my fingers. "Grace, you can't hide in here forever," Kate said, but I was already past her, deeper into the kitchen, where the staff pretended not to notice the mother of the bride having a breakdown between the wedding cake and the champagne reserves. My hands shook as I gripped the stainless steel counter. 15 years. 15 years of waking up at 5 a.m. to drive to my fake nail salon before heading to my real office. 15 years of dyeing my roots brown to hide the expensive highlights. 15 years of listening to Sarah complain about money while sitting on a thrift store couch, knowing I could buy her 1,000 couches without blinking. "Ma'am?" A young server approached hesitantly. "Is everything all right?" "No, nothing is all right. My daughter is about to dance with her new husband, who doesn't know I control his entire career. My drunk senior VP is one conversation away from exposing everything. And I just want to hold my baby girl and tell her the truth, but the truth would destroy her." "I'm fine," I lied. The two words I'd perfected above all others. But then I heard it. Sarah's laugh echoing from the reception hall. That same laugh when she was 7 and I'd pushed her on the swings at the public park. Both of us pretending we belonged there, that Mommy hadn't just closed a $50 million deal that morning. "You know what the worst part is?" I said to Kate, my voice breaking. "She thinks I'm her hero. She tells everyone how our mother worked 18-hour days filing nails to put food on the table. How I never complained, never gave up. She built her whole identity around being the daughter of a struggling single mom who made it work. Grace, you are her hero, Grace. The money doesn't change that." "The money changes everything," the words exploded out of me. "Do you know what she said last week? She said she hopes she can be half the mother I was. That when she has kids, she wants them to know the value of hard work like I taught her. Grace, she's been saving for 2 years to buy me a car for Christmas. A used Toyota Camry. She showed me the listing, Katie, so proud that she could finally take care of me. Meanwhile, I have 7 cars in a private garage she doesn't know exists." I pulled out my personal phone, the real one, and showed Kate the text that had just come through from my CFO. "John Davis, code red. The Reuters journalist is here. At Dwedding. She's asking questions." My blood turned to liquid nitrogen. A journalist? At my daughter's wedding? Kate read the text, her face paling. "How did they find you?" "Someone talked. Someone always talks." I was already typing back, my fingers flying across the screen with the efficiency of someone who'd built an empire on quick decisions. "Get her out, quietly, whatever it takes." "She's talking to Mike Harrison." Of course she was. Mike Harrison, who was drunk enough to think he was being charming, but sober enough to remember details. Details like how their mysterious CEO had visited the Dallas office exactly once, 5 years ago. Details like how she'd worn Louboutin heels to a strategic planning meeting, but tried to hide them under the conference table. "I have to get out there," I said, already moving. "I have to—" "Mom?" I froze. Sarah stood in the doorway, her wedding dress catching the fluorescent lights, her face etched with concern. "Everyone's looking for you. It's time for our dance." Our dance? The mother-daughter dance I'd been dreading and longing for in equal measure. "Sweetie, what could I say? Sorry, honey, I'm having a panic attack because I'm secretly a billionaire and there's a journalist outside trying to expose me." "Have you been crying?" Sarah stepped closer, her own eyes welling up. "Oh, Mom, I know this is hard. Letting go." She thought I was crying because my little girl was grown up. If only it were that simple. "You know, Sarah," said, taking my hands, "when I was little, I used to dream about my wedding day. Not about the dress or the flowers or any of that. I dreamed about dancing with you, about thanking you for everything."
Each word was a dagger wrapped in silk. I used to watch you come home, your hands cracked from the chemicals, your back aching, and you'd still help me with homework. You'd still make time for my school plays. She squeezed my hands tighter. Do you remember when I asked why you didn't just get a better job? I remembered. God, how I remembered. She'd been 12, old enough to notice that other moms didn't come home with acetone-burned fingers. You said, sometimes we do things we don't love, so the people we love can have better. And I promised myself that one day I'd make enough money that you could quit, that you could rest. Sarah, she knows the nail salon is struggling. I saw the bills on your kitchen table last month. I know you've been taking extra clients to pay for the wedding, even though Ryan and I told you we could handle it. The bills. Props from my assistant, carefully aged and calculated to look authentic, another lie in the museum of deception I'd built. But here's the thing, Mom. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. I need to tell you something. Before our dance, before everything changes. My heart stopped. What do you mean? She reached into the hidden pocket of her wedding dress, the one she'd sewn in herself because professional alterations were too expensive, and pulled out a small white stick.
A pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. I'm pregnant, she whispered. 8 weeks. Ryan doesn't know yet. I wanted you to be the first. The world tilted on its axis. My daughter, my baby girl, having a baby of her own. I'm scared, Mom, she admitted, tears flowing freely now. We can barely afford rent. Ryan's promotion will help, but babies are expensive, and I don't want to be the kind of mother who can't provide. Stop. The word came out harsher than I intended. You stop right there, Sarah Grace Miller. I cupped her face in my hands, forcing her to meet my eyes. My daughter, my brilliant, kind, hard-working daughter who thought she needed to earn the right to give her child a good life. You, I said fiercely, are going to be an amazing mother. Do you hear me? Money or no money, promotion or no promotion. That baby is already the luckiest child in the world because they get you. But what if, no what ifs, no buts, your child will have everything they need? Because I'll make sure of it, even if you never know how. Sarah collapsed into my arms, sobbing into my shoulder like she used to when she was small and the world felt too big. I held her tight, breathing in her vanilla perfume, memorizing this moment before everything changed. Because it would change. The journalist in the reception hall guaranteed that. The Forbes article, Mike Harrison's loose lips, the pregnancy that would make hiding even harder. Grace/Mrs. Miller, we have a situation. The journalist, she knows. She has photos, old ones, from the Singapore acquisition. Sarah pulled back, confused. Journalist, what's going on? I looked at Tom, then at my daughter, then at the pregnancy test still clutched in her hand. 3 generations of secrets. 3 generations of lies. Sarah, there's something I need to tell you. After our dance, Ladies and gentlemen, the DJ's voice boomed through the speakers. It's time for the mother-daughter dance. Let's welcome Grace and Sarah to the floor. Sarah wiped her eyes, tucking the pregnancy test back into her pocket. Whatever it is can wait, Mom. This is our moment. She took my hand and led me toward the door, toward the crowd, toward the dance floor where 200 guests waited to watch us spin and sway while my empire burned around us. As we walked, I saw him, Ryan, standing by the head table, his phone in his hand, his face pale. He was reading something, an email maybe, or a news alert. His eyes found mine across the room, and in them I saw the beginning of understanding. The music started, 1,000 Years by Christina Perri, Sarah's choice. A song about eternal love, about waiting, about time. Time I no longer had.
The first notes of 1,000 years floated through the air like ghosts of every lie I'd ever told. Sarah's hand in mine felt so small, just like when she was 5 and afraid of the dark, when I'd promise her there were no monsters under the bed. But I was the monster who loved her too much to let her struggle, too much to let her fail, too much to tell her the truth. Heart beats fast, colors and promises. We began to sway, and the room disappeared. 200 guests became shadows. The journalist, Mike Harrison, the crumbling walls of my deception. All of it faded until there was only my daughter and me. dancing in a bubble of stolen time. "Mom," Sarah whispered, her head on my shoulder. "Remember when you taught me to dance in our kitchen for the father-daughter dance at Jamie's wedding?" I remembered. She'd been 16, crying because she didn't have a father to dance with at her best friend's wedding. So we'd pushed aside the thrift store furniture and practiced until 2 a.m., me leading, teaching her to follow someone who wasn't there. "You said," Sarah continued, her voice thick with emotion, "that one day I'd dance at my own wedding and I'd be so happy I wouldn't even remember being sad about not having a dad." "And were you?" I asked, though I knew the answer. "Happy? So happy I could burst." She pulled back to look at me, and I saw the little girl who used to leave mac and cheese on the counter for me when I came home late, the teenager who'd turned down a full ride to Princeton because she didn't want to leave me alone, the woman who'd inherited my stubbornness and none of my wealth. "But you know what I admired most about you? You never took shortcuts, never compromised your integrity. Even when the Johnsons offered you $50,000 to come work at their salon, with benefits and everything, you stayed loyal to your little shop."
The Johnsons. Another lie. They'd never offered me anything because they didn't exist. Just another story I'd crafted to teach her about loyalty while I ran an empire built on hostile takeovers. One step closer. Ryan was on the edge of the dance floor now, his mother behind him, both their faces pale with shock. How long before he connected the dots? Before he realized his promotion, his career, his entire professional life had been orchestrated by the woman in the $200 dress spinning slowly with her daughter? "Sarah," I began, my voice barely audible, "there's something—" "Ladies and gentlemen," Mike Harrison's drunk voice boomed through the space, commanding the microphone. "Let's hear it for the mother of the bride, Grace Miller, everybody, the hardest working woman in Dallas." Applause erupted, but it sounded like judgment to my ears. Mike wasn't done. "You know, it's funny. Our CEO, the real one, not Tom here, she's also named Grace. What are the odds? Grace Chen, we call her, though nobody's seen her in 5 years. Ghost CEO, we joke. Runs a $2.7 billion company from the shadows." The music continued, but Sarah had stopped moving. Her body tensed against mine. "Mom?" Her voice was small, confused. "Why is he talking about—" "Probably got Grace's on the brain," someone called out, trying to lighten the moment. But the damage was done. I could see it rippling through the crowd, the Cooper Tech employees putting pieces together, the journalists' eyes lighting up with confirmation, Ryan's face cycling through confusion to understanding to something that looked like betrayal. "I have loved you for 1,000 years. Sarah," I said urgently, "I need you to listen to me. Everything I've done—" But Kate was there suddenly, her hand on my shoulder. "Grace, now, the journalist is about to—" "Mom, what's going on?" Sarah's shout cut through the music, through the chatter, through everything. The DJ, sensing drama, faded the song. 200 guests turned to stare at us, the nail technician and her daughter, frozen in the middle of the dance floor like deer in headlights. No, like a billionaire caught in her own web. "Sarah, please," I begged. "Let me explain." "What explain?" She rose her voice, panic creeping in. "Why does Ryan look like he's seen a ghost? Why is everyone staring? What journalist?" Ryan was beside us now, his phone extended towards Sarah, the Forbes article glowing like evidence at a trial. "Sarah," he said, his voice hollow, "your mother, she's—" "Don't!" The word ripped from my throat with the force of 15 years of secrets. "Don't you dare. Not like this. Not at her wedding." "At my wedding?" Sarah snatched the phone, her eyes scanning the article. I watched her face change. Confusion, disbelief, shock, and finally, devastatingly, understanding. No, this is a mistake. My mother works at Elegant Nails on Maple Street. She drives a Honda Accord. She clips coupons. Sarah, you own Cooper Tech? The scream that tore from my daughter's throat was primal, wounded. You own the company? Ryan's company? You're worth, she looked at the phone again, $2.7 billion? The silence that followed was deafening. 200 guests held their breath. The journalist stepped forward, camera in hand. Ryan stood frozen, calculating every interaction he'd ever had with his boss's boss's boss. And my daughter, my beautiful pregnant daughter, looked at me like I was a stranger. "All of it," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Everything, every struggle, every time I felt proud of making it on my own, every time I thought I was strong like you, it was all real," I said desperately. "Your strength is real. Your accomplishments are real. I just..." "Lies!" She backed away from me, her wedding dress catching on her heels. "My whole life is a lie." "Sarah, please." But she was already running, her white dress a blur as she fled the dance floor. Ryan looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw it in his eyes. Not anger, not betrayal. Fear. Fear of the woman who controlled his life without his knowledge. Fear of what else might be a lie. Fear of what this meant for his marriage, his career, his future child he didn't yet know about. "Mr. Cooper," I said quietly, every inch the CEO now despite my Macy's dress, "go after her. Now." He didn't need to be told twice. The reception erupted in chaos. Mike Harrison dropped his champagne, Tom Bradley was fielding calls, the journalist was typing furiously on her phone, and Kate, loyal, steady Kate, stood beside me as my world imploded. "What have I done?" I whispered. "What you thought was best, like mothers do." I looked at the abandoned dance floor, at the spot where my daughter had stood in my arms just moments ago, where she'd whispered about her pregnancy and her fears and her love. The DJ, uncertain, had resumed the music. Christina Perry's voice continued its promise of eternal love, but now it sounded like a funeral dirge. "I have loved you for 1,000 years," and I had, through every lie, every deception, every manipulated moment. "I'll love you for 1,000 more, even if she never forgave me."
The Dallas skyline glittered through my penthouse windows like 1,000 broken promises. I'd been here for 3 hours, still in my wedding clothes, watching the city sleep while my daughter's voicemails played on repeat. "Mom, how could you? Was any of it real? I can't even look at you right now. Ryan says you own our apartment building. You've been our landlord this whole time. God, Mom, why?" The last one had come an hour ago. Since then, silence. My phone buzzed. Tom Bradley. "The Austin branch?" I said without preamble. "Saved. Board approved the $40 million. They're calling it a strategic reinvestment." He paused. "Grace, the media storm." "I don't care about the media storm." "You should. Cooper Tech stock is up 12% in after-hours trading. Apparently, investors love a mystery billionaire story." I laughed, the sound bitter as burnt coffee. "My daughter won't speak to me, but at least the shareholders are happy. She'll come around." "No," I said quietly. "She won't." I ended the call and walked to my safe, pulling out the things I'd hidden for 15 years. My real wedding ring, the Cartier piece worth more than the house Sarah grew up in. Photos from board meetings where I'd stood in shadows. The original deed to Cooper Tech, signed Grace Chen, my maiden name, the name I'd buried along with my marriage. And there, at the bottom, a letter I'd written the day Sarah was born, just in case. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then you know the truth." A knock at my door interrupted my spiral into memory. My security would have called if someone was coming, unless... "It's me," Kate's voice called, "and I'm not alone." I opened the door to find my sister and impossibly Ryan. My son-in-law stood in my marble foyer looking lost, his tuxedo rumpled, his eyes red-rimmed. "She won't see me," he said without preamble. "She's locked herself in the bathroom at her friend Lisa's apartment. She won't talk to anyone." I know the feeling. I gestured them inside. This man who had just discovered his mother-in-law owned his life. "Scotch? I have the good stuff, the $50,000 bottle. Though I suppose you know that now." "Grace," Kate warned.
What? He should enjoy the perks of nepotism. Ryan flinched. I earned my promotion. Every evaluation, every project. You did, I said simply. That's why I never interfered. Well, almost never. There was that incident with the Henderson account where you were about to be scapegoated for Brad's mistake. I may have corrected that. He sank onto my Italian leather sofa. $75,000, not that it mattered anymore. How long have you been watching me? Since the day you asked her out. Background check, financial history, social media deep dive. Did you know you had an outstanding parking ticket from college? I paid it. Jesus! I prefer grace. I poured 3 scotches, my hand steady despite the earthquake in my chest. You passed, by the way. Every test. You love her for her, not for money you didn't know existed. Do you know how rare that is? Is that supposed to make me feel better? It's supposed to make you understand. I handed him the glass. Everything I did was to protect her, to let her be normal, to let her find someone who loved her for her brilliant mind and terrible taste in movies, not for a Fortune 500 inheritance. Mission accomplished, he said bitterly. She found me, and now she thinks our entire relationship is a lie. Isn't it? I asked. I own your company. I approve your transfers. You didn't make me fall in love with her. His voice cracked. You didn't make her laugh at my stupid jokes or stay up all night helping me with presentations or tell you she's pregnant. His glass slipped, scotch splashing across my Persian rug. $100,000, I said absently. The rug, not the baby. She's... What? Kate glared at me. Grace! Oh, please, he has a right to know. I met Ryan's stunned gaze. 8 weeks. She was going to tell you after the honeymoon. Surprise? He was on his feet, pacing. I have to see her. She can't go through this alone. Pregnant and upset and... She's not alone, a voice said from my still open door. We all turned. Sarah stood there, still in her wedding dress, makeup streaked, eyes swollen. My heart clenched so hard I thought it might actually break. The doorman let me up. Apparently, he's been reporting to you about my visits to what I thought was Kate's apartment. Sarah, is this where you live? Really live? She walked in slowly, taking in the penthouse, the city views, the art collection, the life I'd hidden. It's beautiful. Nothing like our house. That's still our house, I said desperately. Where I raised you, where we made memories. Where you lied to me every single day. She picked up a photo from my mantle, the one picture I'd allowed myself, taken at her college graduation. Nice frame. Tiffany? Cartier, actually.
She laughed high and sharp. Of course it is. Then to Ryan, did you know? No, he said immediately. Sarah, I swear. He didn't know, I confirmed. No one knew except Kate and my executive team, and they only knew Grace Chen, not Grace Miller. Grace Chen, she rolled the name around her mouth like foreign candy. Your maiden name, from your first marriage, the one that gave you the initial capital? I blinked. How did you... I'm not stupid, Mom, just blind. But Lisa's husband is a forensic accountant. Amazing what you can find out in 3 hours if you know where to look. She turned to face me fully. Dad didn't leave because he couldn't handle a strong woman. He left because you chose the company over him. The truth hung between us like a blade. Yes, I admitted. He wanted me to sell, said the money was enough, but it wasn't about the money. No? Then what was it about? Power? Control? Purpose. The word escaped before I could stop it. I was building something, creating jobs, changing lives. What about my life? Her voice broke. What about my choices, my right to fail, my right to succeed on my own terms? You did succeed. With training wheels! She screamed it, and Ryan moved toward her, but she held up a hand. Every job interview, every promotion, every apartment I got approved for, was any of it real? Your degree, your skills, your marriage, the baby growing inside you, all real. She froze. I didn't tell Ryan yet. I know. I'm sorry. But secrets have a way of coming out at the worst times. Is that supposed to be funny? It's supposed to be true. We stood there, 4 people in a $15 million penthouse, the city lights bearing witness to the implosion of my carefully crafted life. Finally, Sarah spoke. Why? Such a simple question, such an impossible answer. Because I loved you too much to let you hurt the way I hurt. Because I wanted you to have choices I didn't have. Because I thought I could give you normal. I didn't want normal. I wanted honest. I know. Tears ran down my face, and for once I didn't try to hide them. I know, baby, and I'm so sorry. Sarah walked to the window, her wedding dress reflecting in the glass. When she spoke, her voice was steady. The Austin branch, Ryan's promotion, will those stand? Yes, he earned them. Without interference? Without interference. And the baby, you won't. I won't do anything you don't want me to do. No secret trust funds, no manipulated preschool admissions, no lies.
She turned back, and in her eyes I saw something I didn't expect. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. I need time, she said, to process this, to figure out who I am now that I know who you are. Take all the time you need. She moved toward Ryan, who wrapped her in his arms like he was trying to hold her together. For what it's worth, she said at the door, I understand why you did it. That's what makes it worse. Because I look at this baby growing inside me and I think, what would I hide to protect them? What lies would I tell? Hopefully none, I said. Be better than me, Sarah. You already are. She paused at the threshold. Mom, that nail salon on Maple Street, did you really work there? Every Saturday for 15 years, minimum wage plus tips, donated it all to the women's shelter. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. Of course you did. And then they were gone, leaving me alone with Kate and my truth and the city lights that suddenly seemed less like diamonds and more like tears. What now? Kate asked. I walked back to the window, pressing my hand against the cold glass. Tomorrow, the media storm would intensify. The board would want answers. The world would want to know how Grace Miller had hidden in plain sight. But tonight, I pulled out my phone and typed a message to John Davis. Set up a foundation, the Sarah Miller Foundation for Single Mothers. Initial funding, $100 million. Anonymous. She said no interference, Kate reminded me. I said no lies. This isn't a lie. It's a truth she doesn't need to know. The last one. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Thank God you didn't tell me at the wedding. I would have ruined the cake. I laughed through my tears. My daughter, still finding humor in the ruins. Thank God indeed. And for the first time in 15 years, I meant it. Because she knew now. The truth was out, the walls were down, and somehow, impossibly, she was still texting me. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't okay. It might never be, but it was a start. And for a mother who'd built an empire on impossible things, a start was more than enough. It was everything.
The doorbell rang at exactly 7 a.m., just like every Saturday for the past 6 months. I opened it to find Sarah standing there, baby Emma in her arms, diaper bag slung over her shoulder like a designer purse she didn't know I'd secretly upgraded. "Hi, Mom," she said, the word still careful, still testing its weight.
Hi, baby girl. I reached for Emma, my granddaughter, the only person in my life who didn't know about the lies. To her, I was just Grandma Grace, the woman who sang off-key lullabies and always had the good teething biscuits. We'd developed this routine slowly, painfully. Saturday mornings at my real house. Not the penthouse, but a modest 2-story in Preston Hollow I'd bought after the truth came out. 4 bedrooms instead of 14, a Toyota in the garage instead of a Bentley. My compromise between who I was and who she needed me to be. Ryan's at the office, Sarah said, settling onto my couch. IKEA, she'd helped me pick it out. The Austin branch is exceeding projections by 30%. I heard, I said carefully. We could talk about Cooper Tech now, but gingerly, like walking on glass. Did you have anything to do with that? No, it was the truth. I'd removed myself from all decisions regarding Ryan's division. Tom Bradley sent me reports. I never asked for them, but I never stopped reading them either. Old habits. Sarah studied my face, then nodded. She believed me. Trust rebuilt one truth at a time. She said, watching Emma grasp my finger with her tiny fist, I've been thinking about what you said that night, about purpose. I waited. I'd learned to wait, to let her lead these conversations. I want to go back to school. MBA, focus on nonprofit management. My heart leapt, but I kept my face neutral. That's wonderful. I can't afford it. I could... No. The word was firm but not angry. I'll take out loans, like normal people. But... She took a breath. I was hoping you could watch Emma while I'm in class, if you're not too busy running your empire. I blinked back tears. I'm never too busy for her, or you. Good. She pulled out a folder, hands trembling slightly. Because I have something else to tell you. I've been volunteering at the women's shelter, the one you donated to all those years. They told me about this anonymous foundation that started last year. The Sarah Miller Foundation. My blood stilled. Oh. Funny name, right? Same as mine. She opened the folder, revealing incorporation documents. Even funnier, the foundation's charter is specifically designed to help single mothers pursue education while providing childcare. That is quite a coincidence. Mom, her voice was gentle now. I know it's you.
I opened my mouth to deny it, then stopped. No more lies. We'd promised. How? The director let slip that the donor insisted on one weird requirement. All the childcare centers had to have nail painting stations for the mothers to practice self-care skills. She smiled, a real smile. Only you would think of that. Are you angry? She considered this, adjusting Emma's position. A year ago, I would have been furious. Another secret, another manipulation. But now, she met my eyes. I understand. You can't turn off being who you are, the woman who builds empires, who sees problems and fixes them, who loves through action, even when that action is complicated. I should have asked permission. You should have, but you were also grieving, trying to find a way to help without helping, to be my mother without being my CEO. She reached over, taking my hand. I forgive you, Mom, for all of it. The words hit me like a physical force. I'd been waiting for them, hoping for them, but never expecting them. Sarah, I mean it. This year, watching you try so hard to be normal, to let me fail and succeed on my own, I realized something. You gave me the greatest gift a parent can give, the illusion of independence, while keeping a safety net ready. Yes, you went too far. Yes, you should have trusted me with the truth, but you loved me more than you loved being comfortable.
Emma gurgled between us, blowing bubbles that caught the morning light. Besides, Sarah continued, a mischievous glint in her eye, I did some research. Do you know how many billionaires' kids end up drug addicts, in rehab, in scandals? You protected me from that, from growing up believing money was the answer to everything. Money isn't the answer to everything. No, but it's not nothing either. She pulled out her phone, showing me a bank app. I've been saving, the real way, 10% of every paycheck. Emma's college fund. It'll take 18 years, but she'll have options. That's my girl. Learned from the best. The real you. Not the perfect, struggling mother you pretended to be, but the flawed, brilliant woman who built something from nothing and loved her daughter enough to hide it. We sat in comfortable silence. 3 generations of Miller women, each carrying our own truths. I have a proposal, Sarah said, eventually. A compromise. You teach me the business, the real business, not so I can take over, that's not my dream, but so I can understand. So when Emma asks about her grandmother, I can tell her the whole truth, the nail technician and the CEO, the lies and the love, all of it. And in exchange, you stop hiding. Be Grace Chen Miller, all of her. Teach Emma that women can build empires, that success doesn't mean sacrificing family, that sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are both true at once.
I looked at my daughter, valedictorian not because of my influence, but despite it. Wife to a man who loved her before he knew her worth, mother to a child who would grow up knowing exactly who her grandmother was. Deal, I said. Sarah smiled, adjusting Emma's sun hat. Good, because Ryan and I are buying a house. A real house. And before you offer, yes, we've already been pre-approved for the mortgage, the normal way. I wasn't going to offer. Liar. But she said it with love. You were absolutely going to have someone accidentally approve us for a better rate. The thought never crossed my mind. Mom? Okay, it maybe crossed once. Briefly. We laughed, and Emma joined in with her baby giggles, and for the first time in over a year, I felt whole. You know what the funny thing is, Sarah said as she prepared to leave. All those years, you taught me that struggle builds character, that earning something yourself matters more than having it given to you. And you were right. You just forgot that the lesson applied to you too. What do you mean? You earned my forgiveness, Mom. Day by day, truth by truth, no shortcuts, no CEO moves, just showing up, being uncomfortable, being real. She kissed my cheek. That's worth more than $2.7 billion. After they left, I stood in my normal house with my normal furniture and my abnormal bank account, thinking about purpose and love and the price of good intentions. My phone buzzed, an alert from the Wall Street Journal. Cooper Tech stock had hit a new high. The company I'd built in shadows now thrived in sunlight. But that wasn't what made me smile. What made me smile was Sarah's text. Emma just said her first word, gamma. Pretty sure she means you. Ryan's crying, video attached. I watched my granddaughter's first word on a loop, this child who would know me, all of me, from the start. No lies, no secrets, just love. Complicated and messy and real. The doorbell rang again. Kate stood there with coffee and pastries from the expensive bakery I pretended not to love anymore. How did it go? She asked. She forgave me. Officially. Thank God, Kate said, and we both laughed at the echo of my old fears. Yes, thank God. Thank God for second chances and stubborn daughters, for granddaughters who see us clearly, for the grace to fail and rise and fail again. Thank God she didn't find out at the wedding, but thank God she found out at all, because love without truth is just control wearing a kinder mask. And my daughter, my brilliant, forgiving daughter, had taught me that the hard way, the best way, the only way that matters. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes it means holding tight. But always, always, it means choosing truth over comfort, even when that truth comes wrapped in years of good intentions. Thank you for joining Grace and Sarah's journey. May we all find the courage to live our whole truth and the grace to forgive those who loved us imperfectly but completely.